at 15 past 3 p.m. East African Standard Time. Altex East Africa doing something new. Now, before we went into the break, I promised we'll return with the Nairobi markets, and of course, here we go. We did have some very good trading on the Nairobi Stock Exchange. The companies that participated in the trades increased from 43 to 47 as of yesterday's data. Now, these companies ended the day with 14 gainers and 24 losers on the market. And Olympia Capital Holdings this time came back as a top gainer with about a 6.82% share price appreciation. Olympia Capital Holdings is really becoming something when it comes to trading here on the Nairobi Stock Exchange. Currently one of the most traded on stocks, but also one that has maintained its gaining on the stock exchange. Currently you're looking at a 6.82% gain to exactly 2.82 Kenyan shillings. Will this gain be sustainable? I have no idea, but who knows? You never know. We did have Stanbic Bank Holdings at a 4.81% gain on the stock exchange, and Williamson T Kenya at exactly 3.45% share price appreciation as well. Standing Fahari Income Re8, we did have about 3.26% gain there on their stock on the fourth day of trading on the Nairobi Stock Exchange. On the losing side, however, we did have Longhorn Publishers perform the worst on the exchange, and Longhorn lost about 8.96% on its value, closing the day with a 3.05 Kenyan shillings share price. And then we did have Uchumi as well. Uchumi hasn't had a good time in a while, and we're seeing that even in yesterday's trades we did have a decline of 7.41% of the company's stock price in the Thursday trading. Express Kenya, who was a top gainer on Wednesday, returned as a bottom loser at a 7% loss as well. This is exactly what I warned you about yesterday, and we were talking about Express Kenya. He was moving very fast on top of the table, but currently you can see as soon as he got there, he's coming down, and that's so common with the small caps or the small companies that are listed on the exchange. They do provide high return when it comes, but also the losses are dire when they do happen. So you must be able to take caution of that, and that's why as an investor, diversification is very important. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't go for only the small caps. Don't go for only for the big caps. Go for a kind of balanced asset class. You can really buy some stock in the big companies, buy some stock in the small companies. So at least one loss cancels out, one gain can cancel out another loss, and then probably you can have particularly gains on a single side. And also you can diversify by sector, getting to look at which sectors are currently profitable, which sectors are promising in the present time. Unga Group also lost about 6.25% down in the Nairobi Stock Exchange, and those were some of the bottom losers. On the gainers list, we still continue to look at some surprises here on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. Guess what? KCB Group came in as the top mover with a total of 2 million shares, 2.02 million shares to be particular and specific. KCB shares were traded on the fourth day of trading at KCB, and CIC Insurance Group had about 1.74 million. Now that shows you the disparity there. And as well, Diamond Trust Bank of Kenya had about 1.67 million shares, and Kenya Power and Lighting Company had about 548,800 shares. Well, Safaricom looks to be nowhere, but we did have Safaricom at exactly 323,000 shares that were recorded on the fourth day of trading. Unfortunately, Safaricom did not make it on the first top 5 movers for the Nairobi Securities Exchange yesterday. These trades definitely had an impact on the all-share index. The index climbed by 0.38 points, basically because most of the stocks were gaining, and also looking at the top movements here, the volumes were really good. We had about 0.38 points going upwards on the Nairobi Securities Exchange All Share Index, representing a 0.3% gain on the day, and closing exactly at 126.86 points. The All Share Index is currently witnessing a 1-week loss of 0.51% and a 4-week loss of currently about 0.75%. And then when you look at the overall year-to-date loss, currently stands at 23.79%, implying there is still more work to be done, at least if we are to end strong in Nairobi. And particularly looking at stocks like Safaricom, which are currently declining, this is very worrying, and we should be worried about this one. But pretty much giving chance on and space to the younger stocks, to the smaller stocks, like now we're currently seeing on Uchumi, rather we're seeing on Olympia Capital Holdings, Express Kenya, Williamson Tea Company, and the like. So the bigger caps are coming out of the picture, and now we're seeing the smaller capitalization markets or companies going upwards. And this is a good and bad thing as well, as you may know, on the exchange. Now, the NSE 20, tracking the top 20 companies that are listed on the Nairobi Stock Exchange, appreciated as well by 0.11% volume there. And the NSE 25 as well, which tracks the top 25 companies by market capitalization, also went up by 0.23%. This wasn't enough, and when you look at their current trends in the NSE 20 and the NSE 25, the NSE 25 tends to outdo the NSE 20, and this is for information of those who have exchange traded funds on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. You must really look out for the NSE 25. It has really performed excellently well, even in times when the indexes like the NSE 20 and the NSE All Share Index have been struggling. At least we've seen the NSE 25 put up a good fight on the exchange, and the exchange traded fund will definitely be a good option for you for the top 25 companies on the exchange. Now let's get to look at particular details here from Olympia Capital Holdings. Remember, this company was the top gainer and has had several series of gaining on the Nairobi Securities Exchange in the past 4 weeks. Now, Olympia Capital Holdings is a Kenyan-based holding company. The main investment segments are companies dealing in the manufacture and sale of products used in the construction industry, such as roofing tiles, floor tiles, adhesives, the UPVC windows and doors, and frames, cleaning chemicals, and the like. Meaning, it's a really service and product company. Its subsidiaries and affiliated companies include the Dunlop Industries, as well as Olympia Capital Corporation, and Kalahari Floor Tiles, as well as Gaborone Enterprises. The company currently enjoys the 61st most valuable position in terms of their market capitalization, which is not quite big, but quite significant for their performance. And currently they do represent about 0.0057% of the equity market in Nairobi, meaning this is a very small cap company, and currently has about 113 million Kenyan shillings worth of market capitalization. Yesterday, their stock price moved up by 0.18 shillings and closed at exactly 2.82 Kenyan shillings per share. This was a 6.82% gain, which was the biggest for the day. There was a total of about 400 shares in 2 deals, and the day ended with a turnover of just 1,128 Kenyan shillings that were transacted. The company currently enjoys a 24.8% monthly gain on their stock price, and this also, we are looking at their year to date, which currently stands at 41%, which is a pretty big one. And this is of course the best on the Nairobi Stock Exchange currently. And the company has gained from a price of 2.0 Kenyan shillings to currently 2.82 Kenyan shillings. Of course, the big movement by percentage is influenced by the fact that the company has a small price, and so any slight movement, either upwards or downwards, really comes in as a very huge percentage of gain or loss. Now, currently, the company enjoys the 37th spot in terms of trading in the last 3 months, and we're talking from the 1st of December to the 1st of from the 1st of September to the 1st of December. Olympia Capital Holdings in this period has traded about 274,400 shares in the Nairobi Securities Exchange in about 110 deals with a total turnover of 748,000 Kenyan shillings. And currently they have an average of about 4,356 traded shares per session on average, and that's Olympia Capital Holdings for you. Moving on quickly away from Olympia Capital, we did have Stanbic Holdings, also amongst the top gainers yesterday, and this is a very, very wonderful company as well from Nairobi, which you should be actually getting to check out. Now, CFC Stanbic Holdings Limited is a Kenyan-based holding company that is basically engaged in the banking sector. Their banking activities are structured into mainly 3 segments, like most financial institutions. They do have the corporate and investment banking segment, as well as the financial investment financial services, such as global markets, transactional products and services. And then they do have the business banking segment. Now, currently, Stanbic Holdings on the Nairobi Stock Exchange holds about 38.7 billion Kenyan shillings, and this makes it the 10th most valuable, very close there to the top most companies when it comes to value, close to the likes of Safaricom and KCB. Now, this represents about 1.96% of the entire Nairobi Securities Exchange equity market. This shows you how important really Stanbic is to the Nairobi Stock Exchange. Yesterday's movement, they had about a 4.5 Kenyan shillings jump in price, closing their day with a 98.0 Kenyan shillings closing price, which was a 4.81% share price appreciation there on the Nairobi Stock Exchange. Now, this was after trading about 25,000 shares, valued at exactly 245,000 Kenyan shillings. Looking at their shares outstanding, currently they hold about 395 million shares and a 38.7 billion market capitalization. The company, in terms of year to date, has gained about 12.3% on their stock price, and this was from 87.25 Kenyan shillings to their current 98.0 Kenyan shillings. This is the 9th best on the year-to-date performance on the Nairobi Stock Exchange. As if that's not enough, they are the 30th most traded on stock in terms of trading in the last 3 months. From the 1st of September to the 1st of December, they have traded about 1.02 million shares on the exchange in about 159 deals across, and these are valued at currently about 99.1 million Kenyan shillings. Well, that's Stanbic Bank for you, or Stanbic Holdings as famously known in the Nairobi perspective. But basically, the company is doing quite well. Their stock is quite affordable at just 98 Kenyan shillings per share. You can check them out as well. They will not disappoint. That's, ladies and gentlemen, about it from the Nairobi Securities Exchange. Longhorn Publishers was among the least gainers. or rather the bottom losers, and this was after losing about 8.96%, as well as Wuchumi Supermarket. But because of time, looking at the summary here, to the end of the fourth day of trading at the Nairobi Securities Exchange, we had a total of about 8.2 million shares that were transacted on about 917 deals that were made, and the value of the money that was transacted on the exchange was exactly 448 million Kenyan shillings, well, a little above that. And compared with the previous day, that was Wednesday, there was a 3% decline in the volume, but a 54% improvement in the turnover. So the turnover really pushed forward, especially the all-share index and their market capitalization. Currently, their market capitalization, though not yet back to 2 trillion, currently staggers between 1.97 and 1.98 trillion Kenyan shillings. And that's the trading from the Nairobi Stock Exchange. Now, allow me to cross to South Africa and get to take you through some of the highlights from Johannesburg Stock Exchange, and we'll get to look at some of the top players there in the markets at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. And currently, when you look at Johannesburg Stock Exchange, they had yesterday about 331 companies or equities participate in the day's trading. The day ended with 169 gainers and close to 132 losers on the market. Indlu Place Properties, if I sound of course right there, gained about 19.55%, which was the biggest gain on the market, with a total price of about 3.18 South African Rand ending the day. We also had Huge Group at a 14.16% gain. Huge Group also yesterday but one was among the gainers. We did have Stefanati in Stock Holdings gaining about 13.21%. When you look at the losers here on the losing side, Visual International Holdings continue to be amongst the bottom losers in this case, and yesterday alone they lost about 33%. Now that's a very huge loss for the shareholders. They wiped away about 33% their stock price, ending the day with a 0.02 South African Rand per share. We also had Datatech at a 28.7% loss, and Montauk Renewables at about 9.1% depreciation there